Welcome back, gents. So I do a lot of tinkering on my channel. Some of you criticize me for it, say I have more money than brains and what have you, but I just have a genuine love for loading and shooting, so no apologies. Lately I've been testing a lot of AR-15s and various uppers, various barrels. Well, for a while I've had two different Lee-Enfields, so why not do some testing and comparison between the two? And similar to when I did my AR Stoner versus Shaw Custom, these two, although there are similarities, there are also a lot of differences. One is readily apparent. One has been sporterized. This is the older of the two, actually. This is, and I've introduced this before, but let's go ahead and do it again, a Lee-Enfield No. 1 Mark III Star, made in 1916. Has the original barrel, all the original parts. It's just been sporterized. That was sometime in the 60s or 70s. The person basically used it as a hunting rifle. And I think that they put it into a storage sometime in the 80s, where then they kept it, and then they gifted it to a friend of mine, who then gifted it to me, because I collect military surplus firearms. This here, above it, is a No. 4 Mark I. This is a wartime expedite model, or expedient model, however you want to word it. How do I know? Well, one, some of the machining is atrocious. Two, the flip sights, and also the bore is a 2-groove bore. So they did that to save money and save time. Otherwise, things are, there's a lot of similarities. You can tell the No. 4 has kind of a different bolt head there. And that is the original bolt head, by the way. Both of them are on the upper end of SAMI spec or CIP when it comes to headspace, but they're still within spec, so that's great. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. Sporterized, original, model numbers. Oh, this one, I do believe they lost the original magazine for that. So this is just a replacement I bought off of Midway USA, I do believe. We're going to be single firing them though. Iron sights, 50 yards. I am going to be using a front and back rest. Let's go ahead and take a look at my setup here. Front, back rest. Here is the ammo. That's probably what I'm forgetting. We're using XMR 4064 Remington brass, since that did fairly well with Remington primers. Hornady match bullets. 174 grain, full metal jacket. We'll see how well they do. I haven't been the most impressed by the Hornady full metal jacket. They don't measure the best, but that doesn't mean they don't shoot halfway decent. And these are loaded to mag length. We're going up from 37.5 grains, which is above a minimum load, to 39.5 grains, which is below the maximum charge. I have 3 strings of 8 here, and then the last two, only 7. These have been sacrificed to the annealing gods, just for testing purposes. That's a long story. Let's not get into it. Otherwise, yeah, let's get to it. Let's see how they compare to one another. So I'm going to have 4 shots from one rifle, 4 shots for another, except for this one, but it's all good. It's just kind of a comparison, just for funsies. That's what this channel is about. The joy of shooting and testing. So I mentioned that the two do have different barrels. Top one is the No. 4. Look at how much thicker that barrel is than the other one. Right, so the No. 4 groups are going to be denoted with this diagonal slash. The No. 1 groups are going to be horizontal. Quick little recap. Really what we're doing here is we have 2 rifles, same chambering, same barrel length, but they are different models and there are differences. So we're looking at those differences as well as those similarities, because they do exist. Because otherwise, this is the same ammo for both of them. Now, the first group is going to be a little bit weird because you can already see, yikes, what a difference. So this is the No. 4, we'll call that a 2-inch group. And yeah, I don't know what went on here. This is just a lot to explain. I think this is me. I think it might be that I just finished firing the number 4, which has the aperture sights, the peep sights, whereas this is kind of more your standard notch and post or dovetail, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not sure if this is me settling in or what, but either way, it shot all the way up there. Usually, the number 1 is shooting to the upper left, while the number 4 is shooting to the upper right. So either way, the minimum charge isn't doing so hot. The only similarity here is that they both have verticality. So yeah. Okay, so bumping it up by 0.5 grains. We see here, there's a lot more similarities going on here. Now, the point to impact and where things are, they're not going to be the same. These rifles are not sighted in for whatever it is I'm shooting. They were sighted in with the military ball ammo, which was 174 grains. However, we're firing at 50 yards, and one of them, the minimum range is 200, the other one is 300. So they're all going to be shooting high. But anyway, notice the similarities. 2 and 2, and the bottom 2 are wider than the top 2. Otherwise, group size is essentially the same. Let's go up again. Now that we covered a lot of info, this is where we start to see some of the differences occur. The number 1, we have some distinct verticality or horizontalness going on here, whereas this one, we're keeping with that verticality. Things have tightened up, but there's still a decent amount of vertical. This actually is a pretty good group overall. That's a little bit over an inch. Now going over here, this is at 39 grains, if I remember right. So the number 1, nice little tight group there, but then we have an outlier, which is harmonically induced, by the way. That's not me, because look at this horizontalness and where it's hitting for point to impact. So with the group, it definitely wants to hit there. It wants the group there, but there's still just that little bit that's throwing the barrel out there. If this was not a 4-shot group, I probably would not have caught that, just so you know. Meanwhile, look at here. This is where, for the number 4, we only have 3-shot groups. But similar pattern in the sense that you have where it wants the group, but then we have an outlier over there. So yeah, and also, again, compare harmonically. Things are going a little bit more right here. Things are going a little bit more right over here too. But this one over there is still in line where we were grouping. Something to keep in mind. That's things I pay attention to. This is the final charge, and you can see over here things are tightening up. We still have a little bit of that verticality. I'm wondering if that's me just having issues with the aperture sights, but that's placing maybe a little bit too much onus on me. That's muddling everything we're trying to talk about here, but still a little bit over an inch. Actually, that one might be kind of the best group of the day, but only a 3-shot group. Whereas with the number 1, we're still doing 4 shots, and you can see that the point to impact definitely dropped down, although this one up there, look, it matches that one there. So definitely there's a shift in the point to impact. And actually, you know, now that we talk about it, I think this one, it might be going down too. Not by much if it is. So there you go. There's some of the similarities and differences between 2 Lee-Enfield rifles.